Hello everyone. Welcome to ixamBee, and I have a very special guest with us today, Mr. Sanjay Naveen, who is the ex-DGM at SIDBI. He joined SIDBI in 1999, almost at the inception of SIDBI, and has served there for almost 25 years and retired in 2016. Sir currently is heading as MD and CEO of an NBFC, Kanika Investment Limited, an NBFC which specializes in financing for small businesses and supply chain operations. So, huge experience in the finance space, specifically MSME, both with SIDBI and in the private sector today. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today and taking out time, and a very warm welcome to ixamBee platform.
Thank you, Prachi. Thank you for having me here, and it's my pleasure to be associated with you and your team. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, sir, we have a lot of questions come up from students and aspirants, as SIDBI has again come out with Grade A recruitment cycle this year. And a few changes have come in because of which students are rethinking. So we will like to discuss your views related to it, plus also about your experience and your knowledge about the MSME sector and specifically working with SIDBI. So to start and shoot away the first question, sir, your experience of working at SIDBI and how you have seen SIDBI playing an important role in bringing up the MSME sector in our country.
So, two things. First, I joined in 1991, not in 1999.
Okay, yes. Sorry.
Yeah, and I took voluntary retirement in 2016. At the age of 49, I left SIDBI. SIDBI has played a very important role, not only in MSME sector, but as a person, I can tell you, whatever I am today, professionally and personally, lot of credit goes to SIDBI. SIDBI has shaped my career because when I joined, I was hardly 23, 24 years old, and amongst the first batch of directly recruited officers of SIDBI. And the type of grooming that I've got was very fortunate. God has been very kind, and SIDBI has been very gracious that I've got the best type of exposure and experience in SIDBI, working across the country and across the departments, across the various verticals, the activities that SIDBI does, and which has helped me become not only professionally a good professional, but also a good human being. That is also very important.
Very important.
So first, I'll just, in a brief nutshell, I'll tell you about my journey in SIDBI, maybe 5 minutes, and then I can talk about SIDBI's role in development of MSME sector and microfinance. As I mentioned, I had joined in 1991, and I joined in Cochin. That time it was called Cochin, now it is Kochi, in Kerala. And being from North India, I belong to UP. Being from North India, it was a big challenge for me to go and take up a job somewhere down south. It was almost like a foreign country for me. But having said that, that was the only hindrance I faced for the first time. But when I went there and when I met the people there, joined the organization, it completely changed my outlook. And I worked there in Cochin for 4.5 years, and probably those were the best years of my life in career. Then I worked in Lucknow, Bombay, Mumbai, Ludhiana, Dehradun, Lucknow again, and then Delhi. Delhi was my last posting. I was in charge of Delhi branch office in Delhi before I took a plunge in private sector. So, in a career of almost 24 plus years, nearly 25 years, I've worked at least 6-7 centers. So you can say that there have been transfers very frequently. So that becomes, it's a mental challenge. So if you are mentally prepared for being transferred frequently, that's okay. I mean, bank takes care of your needs, your requirements on transfer. And it gives you an opportunity to see your country, first of all.
Yeah.
Every nook and corner of this country is different. And so is the need of MSME sector. The MSME sector in Ernakulam in Cochin and the MSME sector in Ludhiana or the MSME sector in Uttarakhand is extremely different, or in Noida or anywhere else in the country. So it gives a very good opportunity for people to spread their wings, to spread their outlook, go to different places, learn different things about the country, about the MSME clusters in those various areas, and develop themselves. That's how I have taken it. And you have a family, so sometimes when children are small, it becomes sometimes of a challenge, but then there are ways and means of overcoming it. And having said that, just to give some sort of a comfort to people, to youngsters who are joining or who are the party, who are the candidates, in bigger areas, in bigger centers like Mumbai, Delhi, and Lucknow, or Chennai, you can stay at a center for a fairly longer period as compared to a smaller center like Ludhiana or Dehradun.
Okay.
So while every 4 to 5 years you should be mentally prepared for a transfer, but when you are in a bigger center, which everybody would have a chance in this career to be the bigger center at least once or twice, so there you can spend a slightly longer period also. The bank has a policy of transferring the. Now this is about my personal thing, but as an organization, SIDBI is the apex financial institution, development financial institution for development of MSMEs. It was initially a department of IDBI. IDBI, the Industrial Development Bank of India, not the IDBI bank that we see today. The development financial institution, IDBI, and it had a small department called SIDF, Small Industries Development Fund. And that department used to take care of the funding requirement of SSIs. That time it was known as Small Scale Industries, SSI, which later was converted into MSME, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, thereby including micro and medium also in the gambit, as also in addition to industry, the service sector enterprises were also included in the definition, where SIDBI was supposed to extend development support. So, the area of SIDBI's jurisdiction expanded multifold from SSI, small scale industry alone, to micro, small and medium industry and enterprise. That's how SIDBI started. And SIDBI had been pioneering in many activities, many products that were not heard of in the banking sector. As we grow, as we talk further also in subsequent sessions, we can talk about multiple products that the banking sector was not aware, were made known to the market, were tested by SIDBI. Once it was tested and was successful, it was replicated and accepted by the banking sector as a whole for the MSME sector, both for MSME and for micro sector. We can talk at length subsequently in subsequent sessions when we have time.
Absolutely. So maybe we can get, as you said, subsequently we can talk in more detail. But for an example, if you would like to give one such product's name that was tested and brought in.
Like I'll tell you the rating for MSMEs. As you know, the rating, the credit rating, there are some 4 or 5 RBI accredited credit rating agencies who do rating for large corporate sector. But there was no third-party rating agency exclusively for MSMEs. So this is one product which was pioneered by SIDBI, introduced by SIDBI, tested by SIDBI. It was shown as a successful model, and the entire banking sector has accepted it. MERA, SME rating agency, which is now known as Equity rating agency. So this is one such product, and there are many such products.
Yeah, I see them venturing into the venture capital funds also, promoting them and supporting not just through debt but equity now to the MSME sector. So absolutely, they are doing commendable work in this area. Sir, in your introduction and with your experience with SIDBI, you've already covered so much in detail about the transfer policy. So all those who are listening, I will skip that question later on to discuss, because sir has so beautifully and so candidly told both the aspects of the transfer policy and how one should, take it up with both arms because it has its own benefits, and knowing your own country, forget about, foreign or anything. And because just to continue on this aspect that I'm bringing this question up front in the beginning, when we're talking about the perks and benefits, another thing that comes to students' mind and aspirants' mind is related to foreign postings possibilities or any foreign education possibilities that can be availed of while working at SIDBI. So,
okay, currently there is no, SIDBI has no foreign offices.
Yeah.
So we do not have any foreign postings as such, but there are a lot of assignments where SIDBI participates with other governments, foreign governments, or their development banks, or their central banks, where SIDBI provides consultancy services to such organizations. There, the experts of SIDBI are posted temporarily to such countries for that assignment. So that could be one area of foreign exposure. And the other area is that the staff of SIDBI also gets an opportunity for foreign trainings. So the best of the training institutes that you can think of in world over, SIDBI staff is sent there for 10 days, week, 15 days, even 1 month training program. So in a career, a good officer can aspire to have 2-3 foreign trainings also. I have been fortunate to have at least 5 or 6 foreign trainings and at least 1 foreign assignment.
Great. So basically, in a nutshell, I will just tell aspirants that, there's no dearth of opportunities. You have to work hard and, make yourself the best to be able to become, chosen for those opportunities.
Absolutely. And it is not available to everybody. I mean, yes. You have to, as you rightly said, you have to work hard. You have to prove your mettle. You have to become an expert in certain areas where your need is felt.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Great. So I'll talk about a little bit about the work profile and the departments at SIDBI. This year, specifically in the notification for the SIDBI Grade A, the profile has been mentioned, and certain areas they have mentioned. Say, for example, they have mentioned that a Grade A officer would be expected to help in augmenting credit penetration in MSME and the microfinance. They will be expected to contribute in entrepreneurship, promotion, and skill development activities. They would be expected to be key input providers in business analytics and decision making related to, helping bringing up the MSME sectors and the microfinance, and also participate in internal management, administration, control, and monitoring related functions or any other areas that SIDBI feels is relevant. So what exactly is this telling about the job profile and how do various departments work in SIDBI?
What I heard from you, Prachi, this covers the entire gamut of activities that the bank takes.
Okay.
Whether it is credit, finance, refinance. Finance is also categorized into 2 parts in SIDBI. One is direct finance and the other is through refinance agencies like banks, SFCs or NBFCs. Finance, then there is a promotional development activities where SIDBI undertakes a lot of promotional development activities. That is how SIDBI is different from other commercial banks. Right. Because we do take a lot of development activities and promotional activities. Then there are other areas like internal controls like audit, administration, HR. So the 4 points that you mentioned cover the entire gamut of banking activity. And to give you some sense, I think your candidates should also be aware that this is the base level officers in SIDBI, the assistant manager. And SIDBI is mostly an officer-oriented organization. So unlike some commercial banks or state financial corporations where you would see a lot of clerical and support staff. Out of, if there are 10 clerical staff, you will have 1 or 2 officers. But it's not like that in SIDBI. SIDBI is more officer-oriented. There is very few class 3 and class 4 staff. So assistant managers are the class 1 officers base level. Assistant manager ke baad, they become managers. After managers, they become assistant general managers, AGM. And that is the first level of supervisory position in SIDBI. After assistant general managers, there are deputy general managers, and chief general managers. And beyond that, there is board position, deputy managing director and chairman and managing director. So the officers who will be joining SIDBI, like I joined as an assistant manager, grade A, we are at the bottom of the class 1 officer. Okay. So one should be mentally prepared to take up any and every assignment or responsibility that is given.
So all these, like you mentioned, this is the entire gamut of work that the bank is doing that is mentioned. So if I have to understand this, department-wise, what would be the key departments that are there in SIDBI?
So as I said, there will be a direct credit vertical. Yeah. Direct credit means the vertical which is taking care of giving credit directly to MSMEs. Mm-hmm. There will be an indirect credit vertical. Names may be changed. The nomenclature may keep on changing. But there will be an indirect credit vertical where the credit is given in bulk to banks, state financial corporations, NBFCs, MFIs for further on lending to microfinance clients or MSME clients. Then there will be a venture debt or equity vertical where there are specialized people who only take care of equity and equity related products for MSME, for larger MSMEs. There'll be a microfinance department. There'll be a promotion and development activities. Promotion and development activities is one of the biggest activities of SIDBI. So there'll be cluster development. There'll be entrepreneurship development. All these would form under one department. There'll be an international consultancy organization also, as I mentioned earlier. Then there'll be an administration department. There'll be an HR. There'll be an audit department. Yeah. Okay. There'll be an accounts. There's an accounts department also. There's a resources management department, treasury, which manages the treasury operations of the bank. So largely these are some 8 to 10 departments. And in SIDBI, the best part is that every officer, if he is willing to accept responsibility, he gets exposure in at least 3-4 areas in the initial 5-6 years.
Wow.
So that's the best part of it. Right. So then the management can take a call. These are the people who are best suited for these sort of activities, and then they are groomed in those departments, and then they head those departments.
Wow, that's pretty quick, I would say. 3-4 departments in 4-5 years, 6 years. That's a pretty good exposure to get. Right. Also, just one question came to my mind when you were talking about the direct finance department. So, is there a client-facing branches that SIDBI has for this particular department?
Yeah, so SIDBI has a head office in Lucknow. They have head office departments in Mumbai and some head office departments in Delhi. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, besides that, they have some 10 or 11 regional offices and around 80 to 90 branches spread across the countries. They are largely in the bigger centers, but some of the branches would be in MSME clusters also. And those branches would take care of all the needs of the MSME in their jurisdiction. So the branch would take care of direct credit also. The branch would take care of indirect credit also. The branch would take care of promotional development activities, microfinance, everything. So they will be the eyes and ears and limbs of these SIDBI corporate office department. So branches get to work everything. So the staffing, the officers in branches, when I said that you may get an exposure of 3-4 areas in the first 5, 6, 7 years, because when you are in a branch, you will be in one department, but after 2-3 years, you will shift it to another area. Suppose you are working in a direct vertical, after 2 years, you could shift it to an accounts department within the branch.
Right.
Or looking after microfinance within the branch. So that's how you get to develop expertise in multiple areas, and then there will be some people who will be posted in head offices also. I mean, their first posting could be at head office, some of them. Not all, but some of them could be in head office. And the people who work in branches, once they get expertise, so either they will be an expert in branch management after 5-6 years, or they will become an expert in one area where they will be handpicked and put in corporate office department or head office department.
Great. So I think a very good experience that way, like you said, in that particular area, you'll be responsible for the entire cluster or region. So that's a good exposure to get at the beginning. So this year, a little different in terms of eligibility has been the selection, the recruitment cycle that has been mentioned, that they've asked for experience. Before this, they had never asked for experience. It was only based on the educational qualification and then the entire selection process. This year, experience of either 2 years related to lending in bank or 3 years in an NBFC, again, lending related in non-individual kind of lending experience has been asked for. So what exactly is the reason and for going for such experience in your opinion?
Again, it is my thought, my assessment that SIDBI is in great hurry to have these people on board. If I remember correctly, in 2022 July also they had gone for the recruitment.
Yeah, in fact, 22 they recruited twice. Once at the beginning of the year and then towards the end of the year.
And that was, they recruited around 100 candidates, if I remember, 90 to 100 candidates.
Yes. Yeah.
So it seems, though I'm not in this system, but what I understand is that SIDBI is expanding fast. They are in dire need of experienced hands. They are in need of people who can hit the ground running.
Right.
With and who have the basic understanding of the MSME sector. The MSME sector has its own peculiarities. I would not say challenges, but there are peculiarities attached to SME sector. So SIDBI, I personally feel, again, it's my opinion, that they are in a great hurry to have these people on board as fast as possible, and people with whom they need minimum hand-holding to start.
Right.
So that's my opinion. That's my understanding based on what has been, what I've seen in the advertisement.
That makes sense. And which also, what I feel about that when you state this is that shows that there's good growth opportunity in the organization for people who are joining. Last year also who joined and this year who are joining. So one should also take those in mind. Many times, we have, and this is for the benefit of the candidates, we sometimes look at recruitment cycles and notifications with a very short-eye view. That, this is the salary, let me get through, this is what I am getting. But we should also try to understand organizations, what their growth plans are and where we could fit in. Because sometimes even getting at the right time, at the right place is also so much important an opportunity to find, be a part of a particular growing organization at the right time. So I think that's also one thing that the candidates should definitely look at. With all these changes and not just look at it negatively, because many times the first reaction is now they're asking for, experience and what should we do? So a follow-up question that falls out from this is, the students, some of those candidates are now in a fix. If they are already working in a bank or if they are working in an NBFC, should they go for SIDBI or should they continue to work in that particular bank or NBFC?
It's a very personal decision, very personal choice. You have to look at 2-3 aspects. Which type of bank or NBFC they are working in currently. What sort of job profile they have. Which geographical area they are working in. They might be posted in some remote places. Banks have postings in very remote places. And the initial year, they will do only cashier's job. Even as an officer, they will do only check signing, and they have to take a call. And financially also. So they have to take a very conscious decision, informed decision. What is their current emoluments in the bank or an NBFC? What is the emolument that SIDBI is offering? That is one. Second, what sort of profile they are currently into, and whether they are happy with it or they would like to shift, and the particular geographical location they are currently. As far as job prospects are concerned, that which I can tell you that the prospects of career growth in SIDBI is far, far more superior than any other banks. I cannot comment upon NBFCs because NBFCs, there are many types of NBFCs. I'm currently working with an NBFC, so I understand. There are multiple types of NBFCs. But in banks, career options are slightly limited, mostly because after this mergers, a lot of banks are being merged. So there'll be excess staffing.
It's a personal choice that they can make depending on where they are and
Absolutely.
what kind of profile they are getting.
Yes. It's a very personal choice. It's a very personal choice, and 3-4 criteria one has to see and evaluate and then take a call.
Absolutely. And, I'll just highlight one aspect over here that, getting experience in even different kind of areas and different type of organizations has its benefits. Like, even here, it's not like they've asked for an experience only in the government banks or specifically NBFCs. They've asked for, if you have experience in any kind of NBFCs, any kind of banks, which can help you. So it is very, very important that we look at different opportunities that are available and keep taking them up and keep deciding, we have that benefit today that the opportunities are immense, both in the government and the private space. So ixamBee also has started now helping with placements in the private space also. So because it's important, we are seeing so many government organizations also now asking for experience, which is not specifically only in the government space. So it's important that way, as I sir said, there are few points that you should evaluate and then take that personal call where you want to keep growing and taking up the opportunities. Actual selection process through GD and interview. What kind of topics, what kind of areas should a candidate be preparing for their GD round?
So this year, because it is slightly different from the previous year, they have asked for people with specific experience in MSME. So there is a very strong possibility of subjects which are related to MSME sector.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure the people who have 2-3 years experience may not have complete knowledge of the MSME sector. So they'll have to do some sort of studying. Some sort of preparation would be required, both in terms of role of SIDBI, role of banking sector, the MSME sector, the challenges in MSME sector, what is microfinance, how has microfinance developed, what are the challenges, and general economic topics that are currently in the country. I feel those would be the topics largely for the group discussion. And also interviewed this year will be earlier, if I remember, the interviews were only 20% on subject matter and 80% on other areas and general knowledge, your personality, your strengths and weaknesses. This year, I feel the interview will also have almost 50 to 60% of questions on subject.
Yeah. Because that's the only area that's the only time they are being able to test that. There's no written exam if that doesn't happen. So that's a very fair point, and I think students can take note of this. And general financial awareness and economic awareness is what I will say is a must, both for your interview. How well read you are, how aware you are about what's going on is very, very important. In addition to, of course, the job profile related.
So in the earlier sessions, in the earlier rounds, a person can afford to say, I do not know the difference between a current ratio and a quick ratio.
Mm-hmm.
But this year, a candidate is expected to know what is the difference between a current ratio and a quick ratio.
And I'm sure they should be, with 2 or 3 years of experience of working in lending. That is something they should have a working knowledge of. So,
difference between a term loan and working capital. Working capital, how working capital is assessed, what are the methods of assessing working capital. These things people should be aware. And I'm sure people who are working in banking, they have that sort of an experience. But they have to brush up.
That's true. Because many times while working, we forget the terminology, the correct way of telling it. So that's why they need to practice, brush up, and prepare in that area. So I think that's mostly covering from my areas. In the end, sir, one question I will ask you. You have worked with SIDBI. You're now working with an NBFC in the private sector. what would you say has been your experience of working both in the public and the private sector?
First of all, the first sentence that I made, I owe my career to SIDBI. Whatever I am today, professionally and personally, lot of credit goes to the exposure I got in SIDBI. Best of the postings, the best of the departments that I worked with. I've also worked with the deputy managing director. I've worked in HR. I've worked in microfinance. I've headed branch offices. I've headed the biggest branch in India, that is Delhi. So I've got the best of the exposure. I've got best of the foreign posting, foreign trainings, foreign assignments as well. And at the ripe age of 49, not many people can take that plunge. I left the government job and joined the private sector. Again, that was incidental only, because I was not looking to leave SIDBI. My wife always tells me that I'm wedded to SIDBI. SIDBI is my first love and she is the second. So that's how it was. And but there was an opportunity which came across in my lab. And here the promoters of a very big corporate, they wanted to start an NBFC, a startup NBFC on a fintech model. And they were looking for a young banker, not so young banker, who has that expertise in MSME lending. And SIDBI had also just started the fintech model, adopting the appraisal mechanism in a way that was slightly different from traditional methods of appraisal. So I had some sort of a direct exposure working in SIDBI teams. And stakeholder management, that was very important. I was working with the Government of India Department of Financial Services on certain areas. Then I was also working with the World Bank project. So those were the two aspects these promoters were looking for to start an NBFC who can manage stakeholder management and a fintech background. So that challenge came to me to join as a CEO of that company and start an NBFC. And I took the challenge. And it was luckily in Delhi only, so there was some sort of a permanency in my career. It was a completely different ballgame from SIDBI. SIDBI comes from a very structured, government-owned institution where all policies are written down, time-tested policies. You just have to see what is the policy and then move forward.
Right.
There are areas of improvement, development, and innovations as well. Here, it was a completely different job. I was given a task that you take over take charge, you develop your team, you develop your business, you develop your business model, you develop your risk strategies, you develop your HR strategy. So it was like starting my own startup, but the money was not mine. Capital was from somewhere else. But it was absolutely a startup. And now I can say with proud that we are doing almost 1,000 crores of business on an annual basis, largely into supply chain. We also ventured in microfinance and retail business also, but we did not have very good experience. So we are to supply chain finance, basically supply chain finance, end-to-end supply chain finance from very little amount to large amounts. And it is paperless. Completely paperless. Everything is linked to the enterprise resource management system of the anchor companies, and all these small businesses, these small borrowers who have very little or limited access to formal financial systems. They do not have term loans and working capital. We provide financial.
Great. So I think, sir, listening to you, I have found one commonality between both your careers currently and SIDBI is there's there's no lack of enthusiasm. I think the way you told about starting your career in Kochi at SIDBI and the way you told about starting the same BFC like an entrepreneur, the excitement and the enthusiasm was absolutely the same. So I think you're up for challenges, and that's what it was all about. Always being up for different kind of challenges and opportunities. I'm sure have never been less for you or for any of the candidates. We have to make sure to give more than our 100% and be always ready for any kind of challenge that comes up in our career path.
Yeah, and there may be setbacks also, Praj. There is no utopian situation. There is no perfect situation anywhere in this world, neither in professional nor personal life. So there would be setbacks, there would be failures as well. But having gained experience, if I look at a canvas of more than 30 years now, everything evens out. If there are setbacks, there will be successes also. But you have to keep working. वो अर्जुन को चिड़िया की आंख दिखाई देती है ना? You have to keep working towards your goal. That's it.
Golden words, sir, and so nicely put out. And I think it was a pleasure, as always. I have talked to you before, and always, some good learning that comes out for me, and I'm definitely sure, for candidates even more. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out today to talk to us once again and giving the right kind of guidance and path to the aspirants. I hope this will help them to take the right decision for their careers and steer it in the right direction.
Thank you, Prachi. Thanks to you, to ixamBee, and all the best for the candidates. And I'll be more than happy to interact with the candidates whenever there's a requirement.
Absolutely. So we look forward to your guidance for the interviews and also for the students. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.